Well, hello everyone. Welcome back to the Golden Goal Fantasy Football Podcast. I've got to start this one with an apology from myself. I've had quite a busy couple of weeks. A couple of weeks ago, I was on holiday in Cyprus, and then I decided to move house the week after. So I've been a bit busy and unable to record a pod. So my apologies, but I'm all settled into my new flat in Bristol now. So yeah, ready for the end of the season and to record some more podcasts and give you guys some advice and help. And as usual, I'm joined by Sam, who he's been old reliable, but unfortunately hasn't had me to help him record a pod, I'm afraid. How you doing, mate?
Yeah, good, mate. So I think everyone will understand. Normal life continues. Although, really, we all know that fantasy football is actually life. So in that case, no one will understand and demand that we're there 52 weeks of the year, mate.
How have things been going in Sky for you, mate? You've been getting on all right, or?
No, not really. I've had sort of the same theme of the season that I've had already, which is I've just been really inconsistent. Obviously, there's no one to blame but myself. I've not had a fabulous season. I'm quite happy to hold my hands up on that one. Obviously a little mix of bad luck in there, but also some poor decisions and planning as well. And I'm just looking forward to getting the season over and done with, and then getting into next season. With that being said, I'm still going to push forward to the end of the season and claim some money in the mini leagues I'm in, because I'm still sort of top of those. So it's not all doom and gloom. And push forward for next season. What about yourself?
Yeah, not too bad. I just put I'll talk through my team first of all, then add your team up quickly. But I'll just go through mine. I mean, not too bad. I think over the last couple of weeks, I was sort of just treading water, really. I can't remember if it was before the last podcast that I recorded or not that I brought Heung-min Son in. And he's done me absolute wonders alongside Kane. And he's really propelled me up some ranks. So I think in the last pod we recorded, I was probably about 700th, 800th, but I'm back up to 400th now in the game. So I'm quite happy with that. Sonny's done a wonder for me, and I haven't even captained him. I know quite a few have been brave enough to give him the armband, but for me, I've just thought owning him has been good enough. Did quite well with him. I'll just quickly talk through my team. So I got Nick Pope in goal. I think pretty much like everyone else. Burnley have been pretty disappointing defensively, I think. I've also got him in quite a lot of other games as well because of the double game weeks and so on. But yeah, they've just been shipping goals, haven't they? And I know poor Sean Dyche has been sacked now, so I really don't have any hope for Burnley at all. And yeah, get that Southampton game out of the way for Pope, and might think about moving him on to someone a little bit better. Then I got Cancelo, Laporte and Rudiger in defence. Yeah, three very reliable Sky players. I don't know if you've got the Chelsea team yet because we're recording this on Wednesday evening, but I'm pretty sure Rudiger's he's got a little niggle, hasn't he? And it doesn't sound like he's going to play tonight. But if he misses one game, I'll be quite happy to leave him because he's such a solid pick. And Cancelo and Laporte, again, they're ever reliable Sky players. But we'll get onto it when we review the fixtures. Come Sunday, Chelsea have a 4-1 over Man City. I've got 6 transfers left. So I think at least one of Cancelo and Laporte will become a Chelsea defender. Probably Laporte, to be honest, because he's probably a bit less nailed than Cancelo and he's not quite as good an asset. So I think I might move Laporte onto someone like Reece James, for example. Then I got a midfield of Rafinha, Saka, Ramsey and Bowen. Bowen was a bit of a mistake, really. I brought him in, I can't remember, I think it was on the Sunday, just gone. And my only other option was Nick Pope. And what actually happened, because it was West Ham against Burnley, I didn't expect Burnley to keep a clean sheet. And whilst they didn't, Nick Pope got a nice saves bonus and a man of the match and actually turned out a better captain than Bowen was. So, yeah, a bit of a mistake there and a bit of a rash transfer, but I don't know. In hindsight, I'd probably make it again because Bowen against that Burnley defence, you probably had fancied him. Then I've just got Rafinha, Saka and Ramsey, 3 pretty templatey standard midfielders, and Rafinha with a single, and I think Saka's got a single game day against Newcastle coming up, so they won't be going anywhere. Already spoke about Son, and yeah, Kane and Salah are doing bits. I think I took this screenshot just before the Man United game, so it's not got Salah's points in there. But yeah, as a Man United fan, that was bloody painful, that game. But for Sky, I did quite well out of it, so I had Salah captain. I think that's me really. I talked a little bit about my short-term plans. I think quite a few people will be hopping off Man City and Arsenal players onto Chelsea if you haven't already. So that's about it for me really. Whack yours up, mate.
Yes, mate. Yeah. I've got the fixtures up now. Just also having a look at everything we're talking about there. Yeah. So same as you, mate. Pope and goal. I won't elaborate anymore. Rudiger, Cancelo, similar to you with that one. I'm happy to keep those two now to the end of the season. Yeah, disappointing that they didn't, get a clean sheet or even a result against Southampton. Arsenal, they've been poor for a couple of games, but got a passing bonus out of Gabriel, which, is really nice at 5 points. And Arsenal not being great, but he's still there. So a decision to either keep, I'll probably keep him to the end of the season, but as I haven't got many transfers left, but I don't know. Barnes, Saka, Madison, Bowen. Mate, I echo your thoughts on Bowen. Exactly the same. Identical reason for bringing him in, and now thinking about shipping him out for 6 for 3 on with a Chelsea midfielder for later this evening, basically. So it was a silly move, really, when I could have just stuck the armband on Pope and got a 16-pointer. But again, if you play that game again, exactly as you said, Bowen could haul, and he's been in good form even in Europe as well. But maybe the fact that West Ham literally have a core 11 and they just play that, don't they? As me and you discussed, I think, didn't we? Can sometimes potentially affect fatigue and energy levels and things. So yeah, it wasn't the greatest. It didn't work out as a fantastic move, but maybe in principle it was still a sound idea. I've got Barnes and Madison. Happy with Madison. Again, they've got Europe, haven't they? And that's the priority right now, I would imagine, because their league season's just been so inconsistent. Again, Barnes hasn't really paid off. When I think I got him in at Brentford when he got the assist, and then since then it's been a 2-1-1. A couple of subs appearances, and they're not great at all. So yeah, there's decisions to be made there. One good move I have made more recently was Tony in. I think I got Tony in against. Can't remember when I brought him in, but I think it was after the Burnley game, and then I've obviously had a couple of, I've had a 13-point return against West Ham and the assist against Chelsea. So you're looking good with Brentford and Ericsson in behind him. So absolutely fine with that. Yeah, and then Kane and Salah just staple, leave them two to the end of the season unless there's any injuries.
Yeah,
so that's where I'm at, mate, with it.
I was just going to joke. Ever since Tony's been caught out dissing Brentford, he's pulled his finger out and been playing amazing, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's been banging the goals in. Well, I brought him in on the day that he was caught saying something else again. I was like, "You're joking? He's going to get dropped or whatever." But yeah, he's been in and he's looked pretty good. So happy to keep him for now.
Yeah, nice one. And I know, well, there's a Man United single game day not too far away. And based on how Man United played against Liverpool, I'd fancy anyone to score against them at the moment. So yeah, it's a nice pick, I think.
I actually brought him in with that in mind. I think now, hindsight, again, I would have preferred Son because he's just so explosive. But with that in mind, I just was thinking a bit more long term and didn't actually think about the potential little opportunity there for the double up with Kane and Son. Again, another error an error of judgment maybe that I've made this season, or just something that hasn't gone my way against other times. It's a couple of blanks, isn't it? So yeah, the plan is if Tony's fit and starts, just to captain him that night as well, and as I said, leave him to the end of the season.
Yeah, sounds good, mate. I'm just going to quickly flash up the fixtures for the upcoming game week, and we've got the Sky game weeks are it's still happening at the moment. We're still in a game week at the moment, so I've just put those fixtures up as well. So yeah, we're recording this on Wednesday the 20th. So by the time I actually manage to get it uploaded, I imagine the games will either be kicked off or finished. But I'll just go through them quickly. Who are you thinking to be your captain tonight, mate? We whacked a poll up from our Twitter account just a bit earlier, and Cancelo is far and far ahead of everyone else. Are you going to go for him?
I think so, yeah. Although I've got half an eye on Maddison. If Maddison starts against Everton, I'm in that position. I'm in a funny position because overall rank-wise, it's top 1,000, which compared to last season, it's not great at all. But I'm top of the mini league, and I do want, a nice overall rank's good, but actually winning, I think it's about 150, 160 quid if I get first and second with two teams is actually probably more important.
Yeah.
So sort of half an eye on just kind of getting the job done there, really, more than anything, and therefore going on template. Although if I wasn't in that, if I was out, or if I was out of the money, I'd definitely be going on Madison if he started. But with the mini league and the cash on the line, I think I'll probably just do the safe bet and go Cancelo. Although I've got this feeling, I don't know if it's because obviously I'm a Liverpool fan, I just feel like Brighton might get a goal tonight or a result or something. Could be completely off the money, but I just fancy maybe a little 1-1 or something like that. Again, might be completely wrong, Tom. Obviously, City are a unbelievable side, but
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree with you on the result. To be honest, we'll see how they get on. But I just think with Cancelo, like even if he doesn't get a clean sheet, he's got passes, tackles, attacking returns in him. So yeah,
yeah, he's multiple routes to points, isn't he?
and you'd like to think that
Um,
the Man City Brighton game is going to largely be played on the ground as well. So he's almost guaranteed for passing bonus, isn't he?
yeah, well, they're at home, aren't they? And so yeah, you'd like to think baseline kind of 5 to 7 or 8 points there for Cancelo, which I'll take happily. I'll take now happily.
And then just quickly, the Thursday, it's a pretty boring one for me, really. It was one of the reasons I bought Nick Pope in, so I'm just going to stick the armband on Pope, but not really expecting much considering Southampton have not looked too bad recently, and I would fancy them to beat Burnley, to be honest.
Yeah, well, apart from the result before the last one,
Yeah.
got
They just do
spanked, weren't
that.
they?
Well, I said not
6-0, I
recently.
think, wasn't
Yeah,
it?
they got one in against Arsenal. They always do that, don't they? They get spanked and then
Yeah.
just completely turn. Yeah, my bad.
It's like they need a reset, isn't it? They need like something to kick them up the ass and they go again. I'm the same, mate. I'll be on Pope. I've still got him in goal. He's always good for saves bonus, and as we've seen, man of the match as well. And you never know, what could happen. Could be a clean sheet in there as well. So yeah, mine's firmly wrapped around Nick Pope's arm.
And then just looking, I think this is game week 37 is the next game week. So on Saturday the 23rd, we got Arsenal at home to United, Norwich in Newcastle, Man City Watford, Leicester Villa, and Brentford Spurs. Bit of a tricky one this. Given Cancelo playing a lot of games in a short period of time, it's a bit iffy as to whether he will play against Watford, I think.
See, I think if they win this evening, he's got almost guaranteed to start because it's how close it is in the Premier League with Liverpool. Even if they don't win tonight, I think he's going to play. And as Luke has shown this year, Luke Williams-Diss, he's been quite consistent with his picks, hasn't he? And I think Cancelo, yeah, I just think there's a bit of a hangover, isn't there, still with Pep for his roulette from last year, but he's been way more consistent this year. Sorry, Tom, I crowbarred you there, but I think he'll start.
No, fair enough. Can't remember what stage of the
Yeah.
season it was. It might have been back in January time. There was one weekend where there was a big, well, not a rumour, it was just a large feeling that Cancelo wouldn't play, and he didn't actually play that day. I just remember that well. So, and I think we all captained Ronaldo, who blanked anyway, so it didn't really matter. But yeah, interesting one.
On the flip side, I hate to say it is just Watford, but I think Pep would probably think, like Liverpool the other day, they can beat Watford with 4 or 5 changes. So that'd be the only thing maybe in the back of my mind, which I don't want a captain that I know is not going to start. So it's like, where do you go from there? Do you go with a Saka versus that left-hand side of defence for Manchester United? I mean, he could have a field day, couldn't he, that day?
I think, yeah, alternative being Kane and Son as well against Brentford, of course, knowing that both of those are pretty much completely nailed, aren't they? Yeah, interesting one.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I'll go Cancelo because we'll probably put a poll out, won't we, and see who's the most popular, and I'm sure Cancelo will be far and far ahead in that.
Yeah, the only thing that puts me off Saka is that Arsenal have just been poor for a couple of games, and obviously tonight's a good judge. If Arsenal kind of start looking like they have done prior to these previous 2 games, then I might think about Saka again down that left hand side of United's. Or United were so poor, weren't they? I know that Arsenal aren't of the quality of Liverpool, but I think Arsenal play some really nice football and are pretty solid, and they could comfortably beat Manchester United. So I'm decided on that one, Tom. I'll wait to the poll, I think.
Yeah, and I just had another thought on Man City there. I know they've got 2 or 3 of their like core players out, haven't they? I think Diaz is still recovering. I'm pretty sure KDB's injured as well. So I think with those big names being out, I think he'd even be even more likely to play Cancelo, wouldn't he? Because he's just so important to the team. So yeah, my expected minutes for Cancelo is going up and up as I keep talking about him. So yeah, probably go Cancelo.
Yeah, mate, absolutely.
And then Sunday the 24th, we got Chelsea at home to West Ham, Burnley at home to Wolves, Brighton at home to Southampton, and then the Merseyside derby, Liverpool at home to Everton. I think it's an easy one for me. Definitely be on Mo Salah for this one.
Same, Tom. Yeah.
I know. Well, I don't know. I can't claim be a massive Liverpool Everton history buff. But usually, well, apart from this season when Everton have been just terrible, usually this is quite a tight game. Whatever happens, Everton usually show up. But yeah, I just don't trust that Everton team at all at the moment. And I think given that they've had some good results go their way recently, I might think they might even take their foot off the pedal a little bit as well, like we're used to seeing them do. So yeah, I'd just go Salah and expect him to completely go off against them, to be honest.
Yeah, I think... Yeah, Mo Salah for that one.
Monday, 25th of April, we've got Palace at home to Leeds. I mean, I've just had Rafinha in my team all season myself. Haven't had Gallagher recently, so obviously he's another shout, but I own Rafinha, so it doesn't make sense to bring Gallagher in if I've got him, so I'll just captain Rafinha.
Yeah, this is the one that I haven't got anyone on, and I sort of half debating skipping it at the moment, if I'm honest. I know some people will be on Gallagher, some people will be on that centre-back, Gay here, whatever he's called, because he looks a very, very good player. I guess if I needed to free up some cash for bigger moves elsewhere, then that could be a potential move. But I could see a goal in it for either side there, really, Tom. So I think, like you just said, maybe favouring the attacking asset there would be the wiser move.
And then Thursday, the 28th, we got Man United at home to Chelsea. I definitely won't be going anywhere near a Man United player for this one. For me, I'll just see the team on the night in pick based on that, really. I'll probably own at that point Rudiger and James. So, yeah, just see who's playing in pick from there, really. I think if it was a straight fight between Rudiger and James as to who I'd captain, I don't actually know. I think it's really close, and it depends how they line up, I think. Any thoughts to split like Rudiger and James? I think that will be a popular... quite a common problem on that day.
I'll go. I mean, if I would always choose the more explosive player, which would be Reece James. He's got goals and assists in him, hasn't he? So if I see him if I had him in the team by then and I saw him in the starting lineup, then yeah, he'd be my go-to. Rudiger's totally, 5-point minimum, isn't he? And he's been really, really good this season, like from a playing perspective. So I'd have no problems in sticking the armband on him. I can see Chelsea coming away with this 1-2-0.
Yeah, completely
against
agree.
United.
Yeah, definitely.
I'll be happy to have a defensive double up from Chelsea for that game and be fairly kind of not confident. It's never the right word, but encouraged that they would get a quite something out of it.
You definitely expect them to get passing against Man United the way that Man United will probably set up to counter attack in that game. So yeah, you'd fancy some passing at least for Chelsea.
Yes, mate. Agreed.
Just something useful because we haven't, like I said, it's been a few weeks since we've recorded one of these, and I think while I was on holiday, I remember seeing some new fixtures being announced. So I thought it would be worth just having a look at the remaining fixtures on the FF Stuff fixture grid. Thanks, Frank, for letting us use your great content. I think it was already mentioned on the Hub podcast, so I imagine most of our listeners were already cotton on to that. But I think it was Paul McNulty mentioned that Chelsea have a 4-for-1 over both Man City and Arsenal over the next week or so. So yeah, Chelsea are playing 4 games. They've got a game on the Sunday the 24th, Thursday the 28th, Sunday the 1st of May, and then Sunday the 7th of May. Whereas Man City only play once. They play Leeds on Saturday the 30th of April, and I think Arsenal were the same with a game on Sunday the 1st of May. So yeah, some gains to be made there on Chelsea defenders. And I think the big question is, how many do you bring in?
Well, we've been having this discussion, haven't we, about it was about fan team, but it's essentially the same kind of thing. Are you expecting Chelsea to, rack up clean sheets and pass and in the context of Sky bonuses? Yeah, I mean, I think on Sky, I would be happy if I had the moves. I'd be happy to have three in defensively, Tom. I don't know about you.
I think,
Because like we
yeah.
talked about the potential of passing cleans and then explosive returns, but I think I'll go with two.
Yeah, purely because of my transfer count, really. I think I'll go for two as well. And yeah, it doesn't feel right not to own Cancelo, so I think it'd be very difficult to sell him. But yeah, I think I'll be on a
Yeah.
double up. Probably go for Reece James, and I've already got Rudiger, so that'll probably be the double up. Um, Go on, mate.
I was just going to say they've got a 6 for 3, haven't they? Over Chelsea have got 6 for 3 over Tottenham, West Ham, Wolves, and Brentford. So, I mean, in my case, your case, there could be a Chelsea asset coming in tonight, and then potentially one further a little bit down the line. I don't know what your sort of thinking is there.
Yeah, I can't. The way my team's structured, I can't bring in any new players until Sunday, just because I've got Son. I've basically got nothing in the bank, so I need to make a. If I do it, I need to make 2 or 3 moves on Sunday to enable it all. So it could be that I go, say, Son to Van Dijk, Bowen to a Chelsea defender, and then Laporte to another Chelsea defender, and that sets me up quite nicely. That's probably what I'll do, but I just have to sit on my hands at the moment and just let it play out because I don't have any free money.
Yeah, that's fair enough, mate. And yeah, it just gives people, I guess what you've just said, what we've just said then gives people the options of potentially doing something this evening and then a little bit
Oh,
further down the line.
exactly.
I just
Yeah.
never, like you said about Cancelo, it's never, I just think he's a set and forget now to the end of the season, isn't he?
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, like I said, the more and more I talk, the more I'm convinced that he's absolutely nailed. To be honest, because yeah, they are well in the title fight, aren't they? And with a couple of injuries that they got, Cancelo is just so important to them. So yeah.
Yes, mate.
Well, no, that's probably the first time you've looked at it. But is there any other teams that are screaming out as to you that we need to buy assets for? I think Chelsea are the main one to hop on at the moment, really, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, Leicester have got a nice amalgamation of fixtures left, haven't they, as well? I think.
Yeah, they've got a
Um,
few, definitely.
yeah, certainly more than some other teams. I don't think they've quite got they've got five, haven't they? Is that right? I think five fixtures.
Yeah, that's correct. Five left. Yeah. No, sorry. God, blimey.
Um,
I'm looking at 7 fixtures left for Leicester.
Sorry, yeah, I am. I've got Frank's thing up. It's just I only had a compressed view, so
That's
my
all right.
bad there. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I've now got the full version up, and they've got 7 fixtures. So yeah, so back to my original thinking was that they have some more games than other sides. So yeah, I could. It's just defensively, who'd you pick? I couldn't even tell you their strongest back four. I know they've had so many injuries.
I- I'm
So
I'm gonna do
yeah,
it
it's
in fan team and FPL, and I
but
don't
that's because of the
mind.
double game weeks, right?
I don't mind Schmeichel. I think comparatively he's probably quite similar in terms of returns to Nick Pope. And he's just got a slightly bigger fixture volume, I think, or might have the same actually. Yeah, it looks like they got the same to be fair. But I think Schmeichel maybe just because he's completely nailed and he's got a good chance of saves bonus. And to be fair, now Evans and Fofana are back for Leicester. When they actually play, they do look a lot better defensively, just because they're two good defenders. They're a lot better than what they've been playing.
It's just my argument with that is they've got the European commitments. Obviously, they've both been out and injured, and Fafana a really long term one.
They're not going to be used every game, are they? No chance.
No, and he's in Ramadan now, isn't he? Is that right,
Yeah,
Fafana? And I remember I had him last season, and this time last year, and Rogers kept hauling him off like 60 minutes, and he was like 50 passes or something. Thinking, I think a couple of times he hauled him off early when he was on for bigger points, and that was obviously frustrating. And you know why he was doing it? It was to protect him for future games. So I don't think I'm going to go anywhere near any Leicester defensive assets other than Schmeichel would potentially be the option there. So yeah, going back to your original question, Tom, no one at the moment stands out to me other than your Liverpool, your City, and your Chelsea's. But however, something could change in the next few weeks. We know how fluid and versatile the game is. So
yeah, exactly. Okay. And then the next thing I thought I'd just flash up quickly, because I remember doing it a few podcasts ago, and it was quite a useful thing to look at. So what I've done is I've gone on FF Stuff, and I've selected the player total points per game per million. I filtered, I think, over the last 5 game weeks in players that have played, I think, at least 4 games, just to count the players basically that are pretty much nailed. Strangely, well, without looking, I would have never have guessed this. I imagine you've probably already seen it, Sam, so I can't just ask you to guess. But yeah, Guaita from Crystal Palace is top of that at the moment. Didn't expect that, but he's had a few solid returns recently. Kept clean sheets in, I think, 3 in a row, didn't he? And got saves bonus alongside it.
I think he's one of those, when you own him, he's really poor. And then when you don't own him, there's the reasons why you wanted to own him, because he performs. It's kind of half the reason why I don't think him or like the centre backs is a decent option to the end of the season. They've got Leeds, Southampton, Watford, Everton,
Yeah, they don't have
Villa,
a bad run
and
at all, do they?
United. They haven't got a bad run. And obviously, in your question a second ago, I was going to mention one of the Palace defensive assets. If you get a little bit of passing alongside that, or saves in the case of Gator, then it makes the sort of the points add up, don't they? And it can be really, really good return on investment.
Yeah, not to forget that Palace have a single game day against Leeds as well, and I don't know how many people
Yeah.
don't have a Gallagher or a Rafinha, but it could be quite a natural move to keep your midfielders nice and free and bring Guaita in for Pope, for example. That might be a sensible move because Guaita's 6.6 million, so he's cheaper than Pope, so it's a nice easy sideways move if you want to do that for the single game day.
Yeah, or even like you said, having a look at their back line and just seeing if there's anyone who's been having a look and see if there's anyone that's cheap that could fit in there and pick up some bonuses.
Yeah, and you mentioned passing bonus Crystal Palace defenders, and yeah, they've in those 3 clean sheets. We got Joachim Anderson there, right at the top, who's one of the most valuable players in the game at the moment, and you got your man Ivan Toney in second place as well. He's just been in great form recently, hasn't he? And been picking up quite a few points.
Yeah, that's sort of part of the reason why I obviously brought him in. And then Guahi, whatever he's called.
Yeah,
He's had like you said, loads of clean sheets there. A little bit of passing in there as well. He seems like I know Luke LDN's had him in, hasn't he? For a bit. He's not a bad option at 7.2.
Yeah, definitely. And we got a few Chelsea boys in there as well. I know Havertz is in there. I think one of his hauls is probably captured in these points. And same for Mason Mount. He got a hat-trick recently, didn't he, Mason Mount? So I think it's captured a couple of hauls from the Chelsea mids. We got Ruben Neves up there as well, as I know a few people. I think Tom Powell, our mate Tom P, Sky FF, brought Ruben Neves in. He's done well for him, but I think he's injured now by the signs of it. But yeah, Ruben Neves has been a bit of a pick.
Yeah, Bruno's in there as well, the Newcastle Bruno.
Yeah, don't talk to me about the Newcastle Bruno because he's
Yeah,
done me
I know,
over in the
mate,
last few weeks, mate. He's been a good pick for those that have had him, and fair play if you do. And yeah, my favourite, who plays for the biggest rival of my club, but Alisson's, he's still on that list. He's still up there, scoring loads of points. Again, I just think Alisson is a top pick. And depending on how my team's structured after Sunday, I still might try and work him into my team somehow because I'm just not sure on Pope. I'd much rather have Alisson in there if I could afford him for sure.
Yeah, I mentioned it a few weeks ago on the pod and on the Twitter about Alisson, just saying how he's not picked sort of higher owned, and someone made the point about the lack of single match days, but we always have this conversation, don't we, about just having a player that's very, very good and consistent and just leaving them in, saves you moves and they tick along. He got 51 passes last night against United. He got more passes than the outfield, the United's midfield. So, he's kind of, dare I say, he's got almost a few routes to points, doesn't he? He's had the odd assist. Obviously he had the freak goal, but all jokes aside, he does make some big saves, doesn't he?
When I
And
was
Liverpool are clean sheet magnets at the moment.
it absolutely pains me to say it, but I think he's been absolutely sensational this season as well. Like he has been, I know they've been the offside trap for Liverpool sort of makes him look even better because he gets one-on-one quite a lot of times and it's pulled up for offside. But he is making, I'd say, one or two game-saving saves per match. And I think he's got a real chance of getting a cheeky man of the match thrown in there as well. So when you say routes to points, yeah, I mean potential of assists, well here and there, saves bonus. Clean sheets, obviously, and then occasional man of the match awards for when he bails Liverpool out. So, yeah, I really like him.
Yeah.
All right, then that moves us, I think, quite naturally on to some of our questions. So Matt SkyFF, he asks us, are you looking to bring in any additional Chelsea players, and which ones are you eyeing up? I think we've already spoken about that, but I'll let you mention any Chelsea players you fancy, Sam.
Yeah, I just think like from a name perspective, what's going around in my head is Alonso, Reece James. I already own Rudiger. I know he's not starting tonight; he is out. So I don't know how long that's for. So it's probably worth having an eye on that and see if that's anything that could be lengthy. Kai Havertz and Mason Mount. The thing about Mason Mount is don't. He's actually he's fairly. I saw a stat the other day, and I can't remember the ins and outs of the stat, but he's fairly well up there in terms of goals and assists in all competitions this year. But he never strikes me as massively explosive. I know a lot of his goals and stuff always come against like Norwich, doesn't it? And then if you get a hat trick against Norwich, and it does bulk your stats up a little bit. So the concern around Mount for me is just explosive ability. But he's been really, really good recently. So, his name has to be mentioned, and he could go on a really nice little run towards the end of the season. Havertz isn't starting this evening, but I'd imagine that's just rest related and rotation related. The only thing to keep an eye on, I guess, with Chelsea is the FA Cup final that's coming up in May. I think I saw someone mention that. I can't remember who it was, but it's a really, really good point. Someone on Twitter, might have been Ian Parrin talking about it on Twitter, or on one of his threads or something like that. And I think, Tuchel will have that in mind. But whether or not that's enough to affect the player availability of those four, I don't know. But I think James and Alonso have got such explosive potential from defence, and a couple of injuries across there. I hope they may play more. What's your sort of thinking about it, Tom? I know that you sort of think Reece James can also play right centre back as well, right?
Yeah, and I think that's him at right centre back creates a bit of an issue with Alonso in like the FPLs and the fan teams, etc. But I think if he plays right centre back in Sky, for example, it doesn't really matter because I think he'll still get passing bonus if he plays there. So I still think Reece James is a really, really strong pick. Alonso, God, he was terrible for me when I brought him in after the Chilwell injury. Chelsea just went to absolute shit when he started playing. He just isn't very good defensively, is he? And he sort of hampers the whole team with his lack of defensive ability. So, but yeah, they haven't played too bad with him recently. But the only thing with Alonso is he doesn't really get much bonus. He doesn't seem to make the passes and odd tackles here and there, but you're really going for attacking returns for him. But you do pay a little bit less. I think he might even be under 8 million. So I think he's quite cheap. So yeah, I guess you get what you pay for with him. It's just whether you want to take the risk. The one player I didn't hear mentioned who has looked really quite good recently actually is Timo Werner. I know we were all pained by him last season, just missing chance after chance, but I really don't think he's looking too bad at the moment. And he is the sort of absolute punt that could make or break a season. Like I feel like if you've got nothing to play for at this stage and you just want to grab some ranks, I feel like Timo Werner is a perfectly good pick really, because he's the exact kind of punt that you want to take. None of us who are safe in mini leagues and happy with our ranks are going to go anywhere near Werner. So you'll be safe in knowing you've got a solid differential there if you do pick him. That's about all I got to say on it really.
Yeah, I forgot about Werner. I think he's actually I think he's a little bit of a wild card punt, mate. I think he's a great shout, and he's playing fairly well. So I think you're absolutely right there. It's a little bit of a wider pick. I wouldn't be against it at all.
This is an interesting one because I've just spoken about basically using all my transfers to bring in Chelsea players. But Mitch asks us, how many transfers do you intend to hold back for injuries between now and the end of the season? Any thoughts on that, mate?
I'm low in general, mate. So obviously I haven't got Palace covered. I think that's the only one in the remaining fixtures as a single game day that I've not got covered. However, like he's alluded to, I need to be aware of injuries there. Someone goes down, a Salah or whoever it is. You want to be able to replace them, don't you? So I'm on like 4 or 5 transfers left, which is not a lot at all. But if I bring in a couple of Chelsea boys, it leaves me maybe 2 moves, something like that. If I do cover Palace and then another Chelsea one, something like 2 or 3, just to hold off and just see if there's any injuries. But I'd probably push that to 2 because, again, there isn't a huge amount of game weeks left, is there? So take a little bit of a risk there and maybe say 2.
Yeah, I'll probably be
So
the same, mate. And it relates to Ian's question, which we'll get onto. But I'm looking at using probably 2 or 3 on Sunday, and that takes me down to about 3 transfers anyway. And I'm sure there will be 1 or 2 planned that just make sense to make towards the end of the season. So yeah, I mean, I'll probably have 1 or 2 for an injury. And to be honest, if a player gets injured with like 1 or 2 games left to go, is it really worth making, saving a transfer for that eventuality? I don't know. I think the 4-for-1, for example, that Chelsea have over Man City, that's much better use for transfer, in my opinion, than a player that gets injured just before the last week of the season, for example.
Well, everyone plays at the same time on the same day on the last game. So 10 players, 11 players. Yeah, you'd like the extra, whatever it could be, but it's not going to be a game changer. And as you said, there's that extra transfer that you could use going to be worth more points by doing a 4-for-1 or 3-for-1 or 2-for-0 or whatever, with the captaincy bolted in there as well, probably. So how I like to play with a bit of risk, Tom. I might even go, you said, for like I said, just depends if the opportunity comes up, I'll jump on all my moves earlier than that. But yeah, 1 or 2 just to sort of see me through the last game, up to the last couple of game weeks. I wouldn't even leave it past. I know was it 41? Is it on Sky?
Yeah, the game weeks are really weird, aren't they? But I think
by
the last
39, mate, I'd be inclined to just, unless it was a single game day or whatever, I'd be just inclined to, if there's a move there that I wanted to make, I'd make it. Put it like that.
Yeah, I was just trying to think. I won my mini league that I play with my old local pub, where my dad is actually my main rival in that one. I beat him on the last day of the season last year, and I bought in Nat Phillips with my final transfer with a couple of weeks left to go. And I think my dad had used all his transfers by probably 4 weeks to go. So yeah, just by making a single move a couple of weeks before the end of the season, I was able to win my mini league. I certainly didn't keep a transfer until the last week. So yeah, just recounting my experience really. I certainly didn't really think about injuries or anything. I just used mine up before the end of the season, because what you don't want to be is using a transfer on the last week. I just don't think that's what you want to be doing, to be honest, because there's only one game.
No, I remember. Do you remember Liam Dorian saying about that? He doesn't want one on the last game of the season because it's like you're sort of almost trying to maybe force a move, and then on the play you take out like Halls, or it's just you want your team set for the final day, probably before the final day. The only way I could see that is if you've got Cancelo in and then Cancelo's like on the bench or whatever for final day. There's always those cases, but I think within reason you probably want your team's set before the final day of the season.
Yeah, completely agree. And obviously, the league could go in such a way that the final day of the season is it's either a completely null and void day where we know who's got top 4, we know who's getting relegated, we know who's won it. But yeah, I wouldn't want to transfer on that final week, to be honest. Next question from Danfear. I'll flash out the fixture grid in a second once I've read out the question, but he's asking, is it time to ship Saka and Kulusevski for a Liverpool defender and a Chelsea mid or defender after the 23rd of April? And I think the 23rd is Sunday, isn't it? So I'll just flash out the fixture grid. So he's saying, basically, Arsenal and Spurs players for Liverpool and Chelsea. Certainly, I'll talk about my plans. I'm going to keep Saka. just because I think he's a perfectly decent player. He's got a reasonable volume of fixtures, and he's got a single game day against Newcastle. I know it's all the way on the 16th of May, but I wouldn't want to sell a player I'd want to bring in with my transfer count. So I think I'll hold Saka, but I'm almost completely sold on getting rid of my Spurs players. Well, Son being my extra Spurs player and moving him to Van Dijk. I think that's going to be the move I make. So, yeah, hopefully that's a bit of input to help you there, Damphir. Any thoughts from yourself, mate?
No, that's spot on, Tom. Again, I haven't quite got the players there or the moves to be able to do some of that. But what you've just said makes total sense. And actually, I intend on keeping Saka as well. And I think I would, regardless of transfers there. But yeah, Kulusevski is probably if I had him in, I would be doing a similar move as you've just mentioned there, Tom, and getting a gain on a very good team as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And then our newest follower, Ian Parrin, he asks us, what percentage of your remaining transfers will be used on Sunday? So yeah, I'm not in any position in the game to be secretive about my transfers. I don't think anyone listening to this is going to be worried about my rank. So I've got 6 left, and I'm looking to use probably 3 transfers actually on Sunday. I'll buy a couple of Chelsea players, and I'm going to do Son to Van Dijk as well. So 50% of my transfers are going to be used on Sunday, I think. How about yourself?
I'll be 50% by Sunday. Yeah, again, if no one's interested in your rank, Tom, then people have left the building on my one because it's completely and utterly irrelevant. But yeah, same as you, about 50%. I'm like 5. So yeah, obviously I can't use 2.5, but yeah, two to 3 moves, I think, something like that.
Yeah. I mean, if you ask me at any point in the season, tell me that Chelsea have a 4-for-1 over any particular team, I think you've got to bite someone's hand off at that opportunity to buy some Chelsea.
Yeah, 4-for-1 and the 6-for-3 there as well, and the fixtures are really nice as well. United, well, yeah, I think United's a nice fixture. West Ham could well be because they do look fatigued. Everton's a good fixture. Leeds is a good fixture. Wolves don't score a lot of goals. Leicester, you never know what Leicester's going to turn up. It's been Jekyll and Hyde, isn't it? And then Watford on the final day of the season. I would happily have 3-4 Chelsea players now for that run. Obviously, a little bit more defensively minded because they're more of a defensively minded side, and maybe with one sort of attacking, as in midfield or forward asset there. So, yeah, absolutely, Tom. If you've got moves and it involves gains with Chelsea, it's a sensible move.
And we got another question here from Damphir. Thank you, mate. You asked us 2 questions here. He's asked us, should we stick with Pope or transfer him out for Alisson or Mendy on the 24th, or Schmeichel on I think he's meant the 23rd for both, or Schmeichel on the 23rd of April. He says he doesn't have a Liverpool defender and has 7 transfers left. Well, I've already said all I can about Alisson, really. I think if you've got enough cash and the transfers to do Pope to Alisson for the run-in, I would 100% do that. And I spoke about Schmeichel as well. I think Schmeichel and Pope is actually probably quite close. They got a similar fixture volume. Probably a little bit better defensively at Leicester, but not a great deal. You're probably relying on saves bonus from both Pope and Schmeichel, really. But I think, or Mendy as well, of course. He's mentioned Mendy. Yeah, I think Pope to Alisson or Mendy, if you can afford to make that move and still have 10 outfield players you're very happy with, I would 100% do that. I don't know about yourself, mate.
Yeah, Burnley just don't really have terrible fixtures, though, do they? And like he's kind of a 4 or 5 point baseline man, isn't he, Nick Pope? I'm not in any hurry to get rid of him. I don't think I will because of my transfer account, but Wolves, Watford, Villa, Tottenham, Newcastle. I mean, Newcastle's a harder proposition right now.
Yeah, fair enough.
I know that. Aston Villa, do they play? Is that a rearranged fixture? It must be, mustn't it? Villa. So they play them twice, 36, 37. So you don't know what you're going to get from Villa there. Again, they've been a little bit up and down, haven't they? Watford's a nice fixture. I don't think they're going to give much away against Watford, and the same with Wolves as well. They don't score huge amounts of goals. So I personally will be happy to keep Pope to the end of the season, and I said that a few weeks ago. As dire as Burnley are, and hence why they're in the in the relegation fight.
He still pulled out his 8-pointer at the weekend, to be fair, didn't he? He didn't even keep a clean sheet, and he scored. Well, you get 9
Exactly,
for a
Tom.
clean sheet, don't you? And he got 8 points. So
Exactly, and that's what makes him a good Sky asset. Yeah, but if you wanted to jump on for, like I said, a 6 for, or whatever it is with Chelsea's fixture run or Allison, who's just been fantastic, then yeah, go for it. I wouldn't be against it.
hopefully that answers your question, mate. You get a bit of a different opinion from the two of us there. So yeah, choose who you want to side with. And then finally, I answered this one because I was debating whether to bring in Van Dijk yesterday for the United game. But our good mate Sam SkyFF has asked us, who would you be looking to move Son onto? I think for me it's a simple one to Van Dijk, and I didn't do it last night for the United game, which has hurt me so far, but I've still got Son to play Brentford on, I think they play on Saturday, and then I will make the move on Sunday, because I think there is actually a fixture gain between Liverpool and Spurs if I waited till Sunday to make the move. So yeah, as long as Son scores against Brentford, I'll be doing all right. But yeah, that's my plan. Son to Van Dijk, just because he's cheaper than Trent and it enables me better moves in my team.
Sensible, mate, like that.
And I know you don't have Son, do you? I just forgot about that. I was going to ask you what you thought. But yeah, say you had Son, would you do similar?
Yeah, I think that sounds. Yeah, I mean Van Dijk's, 5 potential baseline of 5 with passing, aerial threat.
Exactly.
Liverpool look really solid defensively. It's a good move, isn't it? And yeah, like you said, if it's a little bit cheaper and it allows you a little bit more money elsewhere, then yeah, why not? I think Chelsea have got, again, going back to Chelsea, they've got 6 games over Tottenham's 3 now over the next few game weeks. So Chelsea have got Arsenal, West Ham United, Everton, Wolves, Leeds in the period that Tottenham have got Brentford, Leicester and Liverpool. So again, there could be a potential Chelsea jump on there from a Son. Tom, again, what your team structure is, Sam, I don't know, but
yeah, I'm already loading up on Chelsea myself, so I didn't even think about that. But yeah, certainly if you're in a position where you've already got Van Dijk, for example, yeah, definitely wouldn't be opposed to swapping Son for a Chelsea defender, that's for sure.
Yeah, when you're getting six for 3, and if you chuck a captaincy in there as well, plus Tottenham have got Liverpool. It's not to say that Son can't and won't score against Liverpool, but it's a solid fixture. Whereas, yeah, as I said, Chelsea's got some quite nice games coming up, so that would be probably an obvious one if, like you said, you didn't have Van Dijk or whatever. So, yeah, some options there.
Yeah, I like that. Good suggestion, mate. And that's the end of our questions, really. Anything that I've missed, Sam, or anything else you wanted to mention?
I don't think so, mate. I think you've been quite a thorough one today.
Yeah, nice one. Well, yeah, just good to be back, isn't it? Yeah, fantasy football has always been my passion, but unfortunately, I've just been had a busy couple of weeks. But yeah, it's good to be back talking to you about it. And yeah, like always, just chatting through it with you, Sam, really helps me out myself as well. And yeah, hopefully everyone watching
same
and
for me, mate.
gets
Absolutely
gets a bit of help too. And yeah, as usual, if you enjoyed what you saw, give us a like and a subscribe on YouTube. And yeah, we'll catch you next week for another Sky Game Week preview. See ya.
Cheers, guys. Thanks for watching.